Peace, everyone. This is one of the days set apart as being termed the Christmas holiday, which at this time, this is commonly known as the New Year's Eve for the Christian world. But as with the New Year, so with the Christ Mass or Christmas Day with us, we recognize the one eternal Christmas Day. In other words, Christ Mass Day, and one eternal New Year's Day. We recognize the ever and all presence of all-wise, almighty, and all-circumferencing God of the universe. You have heard the testimonies of the different individuals from Australia. And there they are, as we are here, representing every nation, every language, every tongue, and every people by this great conversion and by the recognition and the realization of God's actual presence. No longer observing your Creator merely as a supposition, but observing and realizing God's presence as something that is the Creator, the author and the finisher of all of His creation. Though at one time invisible, intangible, and unconsidered as being visible, yet God made visible things that were invisible and brought into tangibility and into outer expression the intangible and invisible things of His creation. Today we are realizing, as it is written, according to the historians, the earth was created as well as the heaven. But the earth was void and without form, even as the heaven has been described as such. But God did say, let dry land appear, according to the historians. And dry land came forth into expression, tangibulated, materialized, as though personified. For God said, let us make man in our own image. According to the historians, God formed man out of the dust of that dry land, that He said in His own omniscience, let it appear. We are happy today to say things that once did not appear are coming into appearance. Things that were not once considered are now being considered. For by the unity of the Spirit as with God in the creation, there was an agreement made between the great universal mind substance and something. When God said, let us make man in our own image. Yes. There was an agreement made. And also as it was, when God said to something, according to the historians, let there be light. And light came forth into expression as a pre-evidence and as a visible prediction of how the light of understanding would come forth into expression when there is no light or no understanding. Aren't you glad? Coming all the way through the ages up until this present time, there are thousands and thousands, yea, millions of individuals. We, or I myself, as one of the unit, if I enumerate them, one of the 150 million Americans, just enumerate the 150 millions of Americans, plus all of the other nations, languages, tongues, and peoples in all countries. Aren't you glad? Just being one among the number, transcended and transcending all racism, all sectarianism, all partisanism, and all ism that spell division, bringing to you, my fellow citizens, hearers and friends, the recognition of e pluribus unum. Aren't you glad? To recognize and realize e pluribus unum, politically and legalistically, we will also recognize e pluribus unum religiously, nationally, and racially. And we will bring an abolition to all divisibility among the nation. By so doing, we will understand each other better universally. Aren't you glad? As you understand each other better universally, you will become to be a part of Judaism as well as a part of Christianity. You will be a part of every nation and of every religion. And the summation will be e pluribus unum, where there will be no more divisibility of the children of men, but all will live in unison together and will partake of the great one eternal Christmas, circumferencing and enveloping the Jewish Christmas, circumferencing and enveloping all the Hindus' Christmas and the Christian Christmas and New Year, and all of them combined, making for that of which we have here today, where all mankind are unified. Aren't you glad? Then I say it's a privilege to observe it. You can see in our churches in Australia, in Switzerland, in New Zealand, in Panama, in England, and in Canada, and in all other countries, coming into the unity of the spirit, of mind, of aim, and of purpose, where we can celebrate one eternal Christmas. And going on to the new year, as aforesaid, we also celebrate the one eternal new year, this being the eve of New Year, as it may be termed. But with this light and of this understanding, we realize there is one eternal Christmas and one eternal New Year's Day. For this cause, by composition, as a message and as a declaration, I brought out this little message, even having it put in notes, so that you might read it, sing it, and play it, and convince yourselves, and convert your hearts and your minds, and all of your human intelligence and intellect to the realization that there is one eternal Christmas and one eternal New Year's Day. When this is done, you will endeavor to worship and serve God from your own viewpoint, not as a creed or any other dogma, but as individuals recognizing the supreme being, the creator, the author, and the finisher of all things. When this is done, you can say in reality, by the unity of the spirit, of mind, of aim, and of purpose, we can live in unison together. And there will be no more divisibility of nations and races and of families among us. But we will recognize the universal brotherhood of man and realize the ever-presence of the fatherhood of God. When this truth is established among the nations of the earth, as I have it now established among you all, my adherents, my followers, and my friends, there will be no more warfare and no more bloodshed, but you will have international peace, as one of our pictures and picture cards portrays. On the land, in other words, in the air, on the land, and on sea, where the people will no longer be divided among themselves. They will no longer live considering themselves as some sort of a cursed race, creed, or color. For I have declared scripturally, as well as I declared socially and personally and organizationally, together you stand, but divided you fall. If the people will unite together and live in this great universal brotherhood of man and recognize the ever presence of the fatherhood of God, there will be no more limitations. There will be no more lacks. There will be no more adverse and undesirable conditions. For the consciousness of the presence of God will dispel and eradicate all adverse and undesirable conditions. Then I say, live in this recognition. You have heard the voices of those of my representatives of my different churches in Australia. A good many of you have heard the recordings from Switzerland, from England, from Germany, and from other parts of the world, making this self-same declaration of the consciousness of mothers and my presence here and there as well as here. And such a conviction automatically just matters satisfactorily. And such a conviction automatically produces the abundance of the fullness of the consciousness of good. And they find no space vacant of the fullness thereof in the European countries, in the war zones, where lacks and wants and limitations and misery, disappointment and failure have gone rampant in the land. Yeah. My spirit and my presence, where they are conscious of it, produce the abundance of the fullness of food and of payments, of houses and of comfort and of convenience, and of every desirable blessing, because they are conscious of my presence. Many people have read, and you all have heard, that as in the beginning of the creation, according to the historians, the Spirit of God moved out upon the face of the waters and began its creation of all creation. Can you not see the mystery? The very spirit of the consciousness of the presence of God moving out there automatically was creative and is just as operative today as it was then. Can you not see the mystery? For God being a creator by nature, even through the cosmic forces of nature and the creative forces of nature, the earth will create in itself by nature insects of its own kind. Can you not see the mystery? God's presence in your consciousness and the recognition of it will automatically create the good, the desirable, and the blessed, and cause you and all things with whom you are and with which you are concerned to be blessed by such a recognition. I know there are many vows being made. Many vows are being made in the Christian world today to live better, to do better, and be truer, be more honest, to be more competent, to be more reliable in every way next year than what they have been this year that is now passing out. Aren't you glad? What profits it to make such vows and promise to do such things unless you recognize the supernaturalness of God's actual presence, the omnipotence and omniscience of Him who liveth forever, to be with you, to guide you and protect you and to lead you and to give you the power and the privilege to do better than you ever did before. They would profit you nothing just to use a formula, just to say, as the old year passes out and the new year comes in, I am going to do better, be better. I shall be more honest, I shall be more true to both God and to man than what I have been. Unless you make up your minds to do it and then do it and realize God is with you right here to help you to do it. You will not be able to do it. You'll be going on as they have been doing from ages up until now. Yea, until I come and made my declaration known. Because I declare I am God. It's written of me, in my name you shall cast out, you know, other fellows. That's what I'm doing daily. I'm casting out the other fella of lacks and wants and limitations, of depression, panics, and famine. I'm casting out adverse and undesirable conditions of sickness and diseases and all sorts of undesirable conditions, because the name of God is a strong tower, and the righteous run therein, and they are saved. Let us live in this recognition and be conscious of God's presence. If you can only be conscious of God's presence metaphysically, if you cannot be conscious of God's presence personally or personifiedly, be conscious of God's presence metaphysically and suppositionally and metaphysically, you make it a blessing. But if you can be conscious of God's presence in person, you will personally get blessings. That's why where I am, the abundance of the fullness of the consciousness of good, no space is vacant of the fullness thereof. Because the adherents and those who are visitors even, the majority of them are conscious of God's personal presence. God materialized himself and spiritualizes you so that you might live in the recognition of God's actual presence. And such a consciousness is just as operative and expressive as it was in the beginning of the creation, when the Spirit of the Lord moved out as something that was invisible upon the water, but it was a consciousness, and that consciousness created earth. Aren't you glad? Created the heaven and created the earth. And God said, let dry land appear. Now live in this recognition, and you will have victory over all adverse and undesirable conditions. And you will have not only spiritual blessing, but you will have peace on earth and goodwill toward men, and have success and prosperity economically. You will master the economic situation, and all of your social and intellectual and political and racial problems will be solved. For God, your Creator, is the great solver. I have long since declared by composition as a motto for the consideration of the people, and of those of my adherents especially. The spirit of the consciousness of the presence of God is the source of all supply, and it will satisfy every good desire. If I can make you conscious of God's presence, it may be called superstition. It may be called expressions of fanaticism and even radicalness. But if I can convince you God is present among you, the very spirit of the consciousness of the presence of God will be to you the same spirit that moved out upon the face of the water in the beginning of the creation. And said, let there be light, and there was light. I say, let here be the abundance of the fullness. Let right here be the consciousness of good, wheresoever you are. And I will declare to you, no space will be vacant of the fullness thereof. Why go around in lacks, wants, and limitation? True followers of mine do not go around soliciting, begging, stealing, and borrowing. Aren't you glad? True followers of mine will express their individual independence even as our country declared her independence as a nation. For you could not be a real American citizen according to my teaching unless you would express your individual independence and refuse to be dependent and live in the consciousness of God's actual presence. Then and only then can you be real, true American citizens. I'm raising up a standard and a citizenry second to none. Where a true follower of mine, if he's physically fit, has health and strength, will not go around soliciting, begging. Not a true follower of mine will be on the relief road taking assistance. That's what I'm talking about. Then you can look over here in this week's issue of the New Day. This present current issue of the New Day, and also last week's issue of the New Day. Unrighteousness marches on in this present current issue of the New Day of December the 30th, 1950. Unrighteousness marches on. You can see why my followers do not accept tips and gifts and presents. That is their religious conviction. And it is according to our church discipline. And you'll not see the mystery. That's why they do not insure automobiles and houses, and do not insure themselves and their children's lives as insurance against sickness, death, and accident, because they know it is not trusting God infinitely, conscientiously, and sincerely. For this cause, we abstain from taking out insurance. My true followers own millions and millions of dollars worth of property, and they do not have any real or personal property insured, although they pay high taxes on the personal and real properties where it's called for. But they do not insure it because it's against our religious conviction. Therefore, we will not take out insurances even so much as a Social Security insurance. My true followers do not insure themselves, their lives, nor their children's lives. They do not insure for sick benefits and accidents or anything of that sort, because we intend to trust the ever-presence of God, His victory over all adverse and undesirable conditions and every hazard that may be created by the other fella, better known by the religion, the double up. Aren't you glad? This did not just begin for years and years and years, and it always has been. The true followers of mine will not insure their own personal property, will not insure their own real property. And you not see the mystery. And why should they insure them now if they have not ever did it because of their religious convictions? They would go to jail or even die if they could before they do it.